All right, everybody. Hello. I'm sorry I am not in class today. I had to go home. I was not feeling well. But you are still going to go through lesson 3. So at this point, if you can go in your iPad, open up Unit 2, Lesson 3 notes. Maybe if the substitute can pause the video for a second, just give everybody a moment to get that open, and then we'll come back. All right, so we're going to do some recap of slope and graphing lines. So this is stuff you saw last year in Algebra 1, but we're going to do this again in Algebra 2 and kind of build off from it. So we need to know this stuff again. So what is slope? Slope is a measure of the steepness of a line, so how steep a line is. So you've probably seen this before. So slope, we always represent with the letter M, like y equals mx plus b. It's a change in the y's, or vertical change, over a change in the x's, or horizontal change. Okay, so it's rise over run on a graph, or if you have points algebraically, it's subtract your y's divided by subtract your x's. I always remember that we don't like our x's. We broke up with them for a reason, so we keep them down, right? We keep them on the bottom. So it's y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. That always gives you your slope. Okay, so we'll just go over a couple of those really quick. So find the slope of each line. So we'll do this algebraically. So x always comes first, right? So if this is my first point, I can label this x1 and y1, and then x2 and y2. And then we want to subtract our y's, so I'm just going to follow this formula. So y2 said was -4. We always put a minus, and then y1 is 7 over x2, that's 3, minus x1, that's 1. Okay, so then we just do that, right? So -4 minus 7 on the top, that's -11. 3 minus 1, that's 2. So this is my slope right here. Okay, we're going to leave our slope as fractions instead of decimals because we want like rise over run. Okay, but that's it. So maybe the sub can pause the video for maybe 1 minute. Pause it for 1 minute. You guys try number 2, find that slope, and then we can hit play. Okay, so let's check that one. So hopefully you started by labeling. And it's y2 minus. Now you have to be careful on this one. y2 minus, so you have to put the minus, and then y1 is -2. Okay, so you do have to have both negatives, and then it's x2 minus x1. So remember, 2 negatives make a positive. That's really like a plus. Okay, now you could simplify this 8 over 4. That is just 2. You could say 2 over 1 if you want, or 2 is fine. Okay, so then last part for slope is just based on a line that's doing your rise over your run. So you can pick any point, right? If I start at this one, rise is how far up do you go to get to the next point. So this is up 2. Up is a positive move. And then right 1, 2, 3. So right is also positive. So on this, your rise over run is up 2, right 3. Okay, it's the same thing as if you went the other way. If I started from the top point, you do rise first, and your rise could be going down. That would mean -2 over left 3. So your rise over run would be -2 over -3. Well, 2 negatives still make it positive, so you get the same thing. Okay, so know how to find slope both of those ways. Next thing is a couple special cases. So horizontal lines. Horizontal goes left to right, right? So if I just draw in a line here, I'm going to draw it at 2. Right, that slope, if I picked like 2 points and I just checked the rise over run of it, I'm not going up or down any, but I am going right 1. So my rise is 0, and my run in this case would be 1. Well, 0 divided by anything, that is 0. So the slope of any horizontal line, that is 0. Okay, that's different for a vertical line. If I just draw a vertical line right here, and let's just pick 2 points, and I want to check the slope of those. Well, if I do rise over run, maybe I'll start at the bottom. 1, 2, 3. My rise is 3. I'm not going left or right any, so it's 3 over 0. If you have a calculator and you type that in right now, 3 divided by 0, it's going to say error or undefined. That means you cannot do it. So the slope of any vertical line is undefined. Okay, so we should be caught up there. So kind of the big thing for today then is going back through your forms of graphing. So we've seen these before. Slope-intercept form looks like this. Y equals mx plus b. So here's just some reminders. M, that's always your slope, right? That's your rise over run. B is your y-intercept, and that's where you're going to start. You start here. That's where you put your first point. Okay, so if we do that first one, so we do negative x minus 4. Okay, so that minus 4, that's going to be at the end. That's where we start. So this is your y-intercept. So remember, on your y-axis, that goes up and down. We're always going to put our point somewhere on that line. And if this is negative 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, my first point is going to go right where I just put that, okay? Now we need to get more points using our slope. So your slope is whatever is in front of x. In this case, there's just a negative sign, but remember there's really a negative 1, okay? So m is negative 1. Now we like it as rise over run, so sometimes we need to take a whole number and make it a fraction. We can do that by putting a 1 on the bottom, okay? So this means down 1, right 1. So from that first point that we plotted, we want to go down 1, right 1. And you can do that a bunch of times. Down 1, right 1, down 1, right 1, down 1, right 1. Okay, you can also go the opposite, up 1, left 1, up 1, left 1. And you can do that a whole bunch of times and then draw your line. Make sure you draw your line all the way through and put 2 arrows on it. Okay, so maybe right now the sub can pause the video and you guys maybe take 1 minute, do number 2, and then we'll come back and check it. All right, so let's check number 2. So hopefully you notice 3 is your y-intercept. So go up 3, 1, 2, 3. And then 2 over 3, that's your slope. So 2 over 3. So rise over run, that means up to right 3. Up to right 3. Do that a couple times. Okay, you can also go the opposite way of both. Down 2, left 3. Okay, and then draw your line all the way through with 2 arrows. All right, so that's slope-intercept form. All right, last form is point-slope form. This is the one that kind of gets forgotten about sometimes, point-slope form. So that looks like this. Y minus y1 equals m, and then x minus x1. Okay, m is always your slope. And then in this case, so it's in the name, point-slope form gives you the slope and a point. Okay, so in this case, the well, I'm going to use a different color. X1 and Y1 are just a point on the line. It's just a point on the line. It's not necessarily your y-intercept, it's just a random point. Okay, so using that, we want to write the point and write the slope, and then we'll graph both things and make our line. Okay, so that first one, the we do, so sometimes it's easier to find the slope first. Slope, right, just like here, is right in front of the parentheses. So your slope, in this case, is going to be that 3. So remember, we said usually it's best to have your slope be a fraction, so I'm going to say 3 over 1. Okay, now your point, this is the little trickier part. So it's the x1 and the y1. Notice that x1 is with x. So that's actually over here. Now, the fact that this is a minus sign kind of changes things. We're always going to use the opposites. So we use the opposites for the point. Okay, so for example, in this equation, the number with my x is a positive 1, but the x I'm going to use is negative 1. Okay, the number with the y is -2, but the number I'm going to use for my point should be +2. So we always use the opposites. Okay, so then we want to plot that point, -1, 2, that's left 1, up 2, and then use that slope. So our slope is up 3, right 1. Do that a couple times. You can go the opposite way. And then you have your line. Okay. Number 2, I'm going to have you guys try in a second, but I just want you to note something really quick. This -1/2, when a negative is in front of a fraction, you can kind of just ignore that and move the negative to the top. Just assign it to one of the numbers, and that's the same thing. Okay, so maybe last thing here, if the sub can pause the video for maybe another 1 minute, have you guys try number 2, and then we'll come back and check it. All right, so hopefully use the opposites for your point. So this would be x comes first, so +2, -5. Okay, so I can plot that. That's right 2, down 5. And then the slope is -1/2. So that means down 1, right 2. Down 1, right 2. Fit as many as you can. Go the opposite way. And you got your line. Okay? Just really quick, these are pretty quick. Special cases, your vertical lines. So I always remember this, like this isn't slope-intercept form or point-slope form. I always remember this by whatever letter that is, X or Y, that is the axis that your line is going to go through, okay? So if this says X equals 5 on my X-axis, I'm going to go where X is 5, put a point, and my line's going to go right through that, okay? So this is going to be a vertical line, and that's it. So if you don't have an X and a Y, it's a special case of line. This is just a vertical line. Okay, so the one to the right of that, this is a Y equals. So this means this is going to pass through the Y axis. So on Y, I'm going to go to -6. And then I'm going to draw a line. It goes through that, and that's it. That is the line Y equals -6. Okay? So those are just some special cases. All right, I'm going to stop there. This has been long enough. So for the rest of class today, you can go back into Schoology, and there is the Unit 2, Lesson 3 exit slip. Okay, that's on this graphing and slope stuff. Okay, so make sure you guys work on that in class, work together in your groups, and then I will see you guys on Friday. All right, thank you.